This conversation now with Kaveh Shahrooz, Senior Fellow at the Macdonald Laurier Institute and former Senior Policy Advisor on Human Rights to Global Affairs Canada. Good morning. Appreciate your time with us. We have seen protests on the streets of Iran before. Does this seem different this time?
Good to be with you, Marcia. These protests are perhaps more widespread than they have been in the past. They're taking place in a greater number of cities. There is a greater cross-section of Iranian society out in the streets. So that's certainly different. The demand of regime change is one that we've heard before, and that seems to be the singular demand of the protesters in the streets. I think probably what makes these fundamentally different than earlier protests or revolutionary movements that we've seen in Iran is that the geopolitical situation is different. Iran in 2026 is considerably weaker than it has been in the past. Militarily weaker. It was, embarrassed during the 12-day war with Israel when Israel dominated Iran's skies and killed a number of Revolutionary Guard commanders. Iran is economically in a worse position than it was. Its supreme leader is older and more isolated. And there seems to be fractures forming within the ruling elites of Iran's regime. So it looks like a much more revolutionary and potent moment than we have seen in past uprisings.
So if that is the case, does that mean this vulnerability opens up the possibility to regime change?
I think so, but I think it will depend a lot on what President Trump and perhaps the Israeli government under Netanyahu do. The Iranian people, I'm not sure what else they can do. They're out in the streets, they're risking their lives. They're, this is the 14th or 15th day, if I'm not mistaken, of the protests, and they've really spiked in the last 4 or 5 days. At this point, I think a lot of Iranians went out in the streets based on an assurance from President Trump that he will have their back. So if he's going to act, I think now is the time to do so. And if U.S. involvement could really bring regime change about.
So, Kaveh, what would U.S. involvement look like? Are we talking about boots on the ground, removing the leader?
Well, it's anyone's guess. I think boots on the ground is highly unlikely. I don't think the American government or the American people want to be mired in a conflict of that nature. But the United States has bombed Iran in the past, so it's possible that they'll go the bombing route. Cyber warfare is certainly possible. A decapitation sort of strike, kind of like carried out in Venezuela recently. All these things are on the table. I think the United States and Israel both have a great deal of capacity. They've got a lot of people on the ground, it seems. They seem to know exactly what Iran's regime is up to. So I think there are a lot of different possibilities.
Kaveh Shahrooz, really appreciate your analysis. Kaveh is a Senior Fellow at the Macdonald Laurier Institute.